Good morning, ladies, and hope you don't have the coronavirus germs. This this is your Ticker Guy update and podcast for the 6th. Well, can't say peach anymore. No, there are no more peachy content updates. That's sorry. By the way, to the person who isn't going to listen to this because couldn't figure out what a peachy was and why you should listen, and wouldn't take the 15 seconds to listen to the first 15 seconds of one podcast to figure it out. Might have brought him back a few times, huh? Well, you know what? He thought he would send me what amounted to a scold about that, and I didn't get him anywhere. So I got a little snarky reply back. What do you expect out of me, right? I mean, that's what you're going to get is a snarky reply. Anyway, we got a few things to talk about. First is the dumpster fire in Iowa, and that is a dumpster fire. It is now clear that you've either got Mr. Unelectable or Mr. Unelectable, who won those caucuses, beat the gay mayor from South Bend, or you got the crazy socialist Bernie. And, you know, the problem the Democrats have with both of these candidates is that while Bernie Sanders appeals to about 20 or 25%, maybe even 50% of the Democrat base, he gets 0 independent votes, and he gets 0 Republican votes. So anybody that leans right of center will not vote for him, period. Anybody that is in the center and thinks socialism sucks will not vote for him, period. This is a huge problem for him in the general, although the thing about fringe candidates like that is that it isn't a problem for them in the initial polling, and you wouldn't expect it to be, because everybody loves him when all that's going on originally, right? So I think there's some real trouble brewing here for essentially everybody in this race right now, and I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. But I will tell you what, I think there's going to be some fun, and maybe of a rather rude sort as we go onward and upward, if you will, because the issue that you're going to continue to see here within the Democrat Party is that they are not going to cut this crap out, all right, by any stretch of the imagination. And anyone that thinks that was just a technical error, pardon me, I'm having delicious coffee, you're nuts. It is not. I don't buy that explanation. I know that's the official explanation, because we would never actually screw Bernie Sanders, right? It's not like the party has ever done anything terrible like that before. Oh, wait a minute, they have. There isn't any record of the. Oh, wait, there is a record of them. You gotta wonder, don't you? You gotta wonder if this is, we're back to the old shenanigans of 2016 again. I think we are. So, you want my operative theory on this? It's actually kind of simple. Sanders saw it coming, and being a politician and one who's been around the block more than once or twice and has seen the kind of scams that the Democrat Party pulls, he had poll watchers essentially at every caucus location. And he was cute enough to make sure that they got the counts as they were being tabulated, which, by the way, it's a public process. If you watch C-SPAN or some of the other news coverage, you saw how they're conducted. There's no privacy here. There's no question as to what's going on. So he had the numbers within minutes of the caucuses closing, and then when the Democrat Party was going to try to pull their little BS. By the way, can we talk about corruption within this? Yeah, I'll do that after I get it. All right. So anyway, after that got started, my guess is that there was a little call placed to the IDP that, hey guys, if you actually try anything, we're going to nail you to the cross publicly, because we have the numbers, we have photographs of them. And, because everybody's got a camera in their pocket now, right? And we're going to screw you to the wall, and then we're going to go into Washington, D.C., and we're going to start going after the top Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and such. As I pointed out in the ticker yesterday, that my guess is that's exactly what happened. That's my theory. Okay, after Nancy's temper tantrum with the State of the Union, so they couldn't do that because they would they were done if they tried it. So so now all of a sudden we're going to get the real answer, and the real answer is they don't want Bernie to win. And I've never met Mayor Pete, okay, but Pete Butt Plug. We're not just call him Butt Plug. I think I'm going to dub him for the purpose of the podcast. We're just going to dub him Butt Plug. Butt Plug has a huge problem in terms of electability, and that he's not going to get one black vote. This is a guy who has racism issues within the city that he ran and did absolutely nothing about them. In fact, if there's a clean argument to be made, he made them much worse within his police department, things like this. And that is going to haunt him forever. He's never going to get away from it. And he's a white male. That he's gay does not counter this. He cannot play the gay card to get away from the racist card. And the Democrats are going to be all over him with this. The electability of this guy is essentially zero. Now, I don't know if he gets, I don't know if it would hurt a candidate if he was the VP. Maybe not. So maybe you see him show up as a VP. But my guess is that you got people like Klobuchar who are angling for a VP slot at this point, because that's she's so far down the polls, she's not going to get the nomination. And Warren did not do all that well, which is surprising. I thought Pocahontas would actually would do better, all things considered. But nope. That didn't happen either. So I think this is a very interesting set of developments. All right, now I want to talk about coronavirus. I said that I saw some worrying things in the quick hit yesterday, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit. With a R0 of anything over 1.0, what you expect to see is a exponentially increasing curve. And so if you want to see what this looks like, pull up Excel, or if you don't have Excel, go onto Google Sheets and do number one, okay, in the first box. And then the formula for the second box is A1 times 1.05. Okay, and then and so that carries down. So then the next formula for C1 is B1 times 1.05. Okay, and A2 times 1.05, and just continue that series down 100 or so. Then graph that, and what you will see is a curve that has it has a belly, okay, in the bottom, and then eventually it goes vertical. And any time you have an exponential series, you see this. And if you read Leverage, you'll notice that one of the very first things that I present in the book, because it is absolutely fundamental. If you don't understand this, you understand nothing about the basis of how compound anything works, whether it be compound population growth, compound interest, compound earnings, compound debt, is that every single exponential function, anytime you have growth of X% of a previous period, that is what the curve is going to look like every single time. And the second thing that goes with this, which is not germane to coronavirus, but is germane to virtually any economic conversation, is that any time that you have two exponential curves where one exponent is larger than the other, the two will always run away from each other. All right, the one with the larger exponent always runs away from the one with the smaller exponent. Always, period, end of discussion, full stop. That's it. It's over. There's nothing else to talk about. And people say, well, wait, why are you so strident about this? Because it's the facts. Okay, math is not all that complicated. And mathematics is the one science that you can just never, ever argue with. It just is what it is. All right, why is this important? Because when you look at a virus or another disease, anything that has an exponential expansion, We have R naught. The whole point of R naught is any R naught over 1.0, every person gives more than one person a case. So for everyone that's sick, they give more than one other person the illness. And in doing that, the number of people who get it continually expands. But they don't expand linearly. And that's the point, is that for a while here, it looked like what we were seeing was a linear flattening. Now, that implied that the Chinese and their control mechanisms of what they were doing, locking cities down, yada, 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 was working. Okay? When you start to see that exponential pattern break, turn into a linear one, and then eventually it starts to flatten out. It goes linear first, and then it starts to flatten out. That is containment, all right, when you see that happen. All right. There was evidence a few days ago that this was occurring. And that's why I was a little bit on the hopeful side. It's gone. That's the best way to put it. It's kind of like the South Park thing that was memorialized forever with with the crash. And it's gone. Well, and it's gone. So we are now back to being on high alert for any indication that this thing has gotten out of China and into other countries and starts to put that kind of situation into the way that things are outside of the Chinese environment. Now, today, as of now, that hasn't happened. And it's very important to keep in mind that that hasn't happened, because if it happens, it's time to pull the ripcord. Then the alarms go off. All right, we are then talking about a situation that is extraordinarily serious. Now, I am a little concerned about what I'm seeing in Japan, because the case count in Japan has started to rise. But remember that a significant number of those, in fact, about half, are on that cruise ship. All right, cruise ships are amazing petri dishes, folks. The cruise industry has a huge problem with things like this, and there's nothing they can do about it. It's not that they're unclean people. It's not that they're pigs. It's all of the kinds of things that you would like to try to lay at their feet. It isn't their fault. It's just the fact that you are putting 2,000 or 3,000, 4,000. Remember that if there's 2,000 people on the ship, guests, there's at least another 1,000 on board that are crew. People don't understand exactly how many people are involved in this. And this is the interesting thing about that when you get down to it. Cruise ships are kind of interesting beasts, because most of their load is actually from what is called hotel loads. In other words, keeping the guests happy. It's the electrical power to run everything from the galleys to the casinos. And that's where most of their load goes. And that's the reason that they use hybrid diesel-electric systems, where they generate power and then they use the electricity to turn the screws. And it's because they need so much of that power during the day that actually they run at a higher speed at night when everyone's gone to bed. They have more power available for the screws. And fuel costs come into it too. But cruise ships are really interesting beasts. I've been in a number of them. But the one thing you do have to realize is that they are just insane petri dishes in terms of disease, because there are railings everywhere. You've got all these decks, usually 14, 15 decks. And so and that's in the public space, and then of course the cruise spaces too. But there's railings on all the stairwells, and so everybody walks up and down those stairs several times a day with their hands on the railings. All right, because there's always a little bit of motion in a ship, even though they're stabilized, and so there's all this exchange of whatever happens to be on your hands. Well, when you think about this for a minute, you get a ship that sails out of America. Okay, out of Port Canaveral or out of Lauderdale or Miami or over in the Gulf side, Tampa or New Orleans or whatever, Galveston, and all of the people, for the most part, not all, 95% of the people who get on that boat are Americans with American values, American culture, and we don't always wash our hands after we go to the bathroom. We should, but we don't always do it. and yet for a huge percentage of the rest of the world, this is not part of their cultural experience. And I don't care whether you tell people to do it or not, unless it is inculcated as part of what they do, a high percentage of the time they won't. All right. And so, the person goes in there, uses the bathroom, and then, walks out of the bathroom. All right. Well, now they have whatever on their hands. All right. And then they walk up a flight of stairs with their hand on the handrail. And you come along behind them 10 minutes later, and now it's on your hands. All right. This is the reason that you get these norovirus outbreaks on the cruise ships. And when you get a ship that gets one of those outbreaks going, the crew starts running around spraying bleach on literally every hard surface. In fact, I was on a cruise that had some sickness problems. I didn't get ill, but some other people I knew that were on the boat did. And man, you want to talk about the work that they have to do when that cruise is done and those passengers get off the boat. It was amazing because the discoloration and the tarnish that was on every single metal surface and hard surface that they could spray, and they were running around spraying it constantly. The place smelled like bleach. And, well, that's what you have to do, okay? I mean, that's the reality of it, is that you have to knock down the transmission, because otherwise you'll go from a couple of cases to all of a sudden you got 50, and then you got 100, and then half the boat's sick. All right, well, they've got people now on 2 cruise ships that, they have, the one off Japan has about 20 positive tests, I think, at this point. And then you have another one that has a couple. This is a bad situation. This is going to rock their world within the cruise industry for quite a long time, because I don't think this is going away over. This may essentially shut down Asian cruising, period, for the next year or longer until this thing burns out. But I am still, even so, I am not seeing evidence that this thing is starting to take off on an exponential basis outside of Asia. That doesn't imply that there's bioengineering going on. What it implies is that there's a sanitation difference between that part of the world, this part of the world. And the big difference, folks, as I postulated quite a long time ago, is that we sit on a crapper that's full of water, and then we have toilet tissue. Most of us. Those of us who don't have toilet tissue have bidets. All right. And we wash things. We wipe them. And then we go to the sink and we wash our hands with soap and then, and dry them off. All right. Well, that is not 100% reduction of whatever might happen to be on your hands. But remember, you need a certain amount of viral load in order to get a virus or any other disease. One little particle typically is not enough. And it has to be transmitted efficiently. In other words, it has to go somewhere on the recipient where it can get into the body. All right. If it's on the outside of your skin, that's very inefficient, very unlikely that you're going to find a little micro crack in your skin, a little fissure around a fingernail or something like this where it can get in there and get going. That's probably not how you're going to get it. On the other hand, if you rub your eyes, the conjunctiva around your eyes is moist, very conducive to entry of pathogens. Your nasal passages are very conducive, and of course down your throat and into your lungs is a problem as well, especially for a virus that attacks the respiratory tract. All right, so the thing is, though, is that because we now know that it is being shed in feces, there is, I tell you what, folks, this is looking more and more likely that it's going to play out this way. By the end of the weekend, if we have not started to see significant ramps in cases here in the United States, I am going to essentially relax a little bit about the possibility that we're going to really get hammered over here in the U.S. But for those people over in China and India, oh my God. And India, if it isn't there yet, it will be. Pakistan, all those nations over there. This is going to be a huge problem in that part of the world. A huge problem, and it's going to go on for a long time. The economic impact is going to be very significant. If you wanted another reason not to be dependent upon third world shitholes for your global trade and global supply lines, well, now you got another reason. Did you need another one? I mean, as if being robbed of every piece of intellectual property you have isn't enough. Hey, these guys wipe their hands with their butts with their hands, and then they don't wash. Yeah. Anyway. All right, folks, that's all I got for today. Look, again, it's as I said in a quick hit, I'm very concerned about the fact that it does not appear that China has containment. And incidentally, the stuff about Tencent, let me just spend a few seconds on this. I know this podcast is going very long. The thing about Tencent possibly inadvertently outing the true statistics, I really don't care if they did or they didn't. China lies. We all know that. China would not be freaking out over 28,000 people sick out of a population of 1 billion. Okay. I mean, I get it. Okay. They've got 500 dead supposedly. Yeah. Okay. That's not the real number either. Remember, folks, the common seasonal flu kills tens of thousands of people in the United States every year. All right. It is frequently not listed as the official cause of death, but it kills tens of thousands of people in the United States. We have 330 million people in this country. China has over 1 billion. All right. So, the idea that the flu kills 100,000 is not beyond the realm of reason. Seasonal flu in China. All right. So what they're seeing here, they're seeing data that makes them think that this isn't, 100,000 people are going to die ultimately of this coronavirus. They're thinking there's going to be another 0 on that number, or maybe 2 zeros on that number, or worse. That's what they're concerned about. That's what they're seeing in the data that they have. What we're having released to us doesn't mean anything. The other thing is, for those of you running around with your hair on fire saying, well, it's got a 16% fatality. No, it doesn't. Okay? Remember, only people that get sufficiently sick to show up at the hospital end up in the stats. If you get a mild case and you've got a fever for a day, you feel like crap, and you have a hacking cough, a little bit of a hack for a week or something like this, you might have had coronavirus. I might have had it when I got what I believed was the seasonal bug. I don't know if it was coronavirus because I never went and got tested. But if I did and had a mild case, I'm not in the stats. I'm not in anybody's stats. But I may very well have had it. All right. So it is entirely possible that the route of envenomation, if you will, by this thing is much higher than we think. That doesn't shock me. That China is seeing something that makes them concerned that a substantial percentage, 1 or 2% of their population may die, is absolutely within the realm of what I think they're probably looking at and thinking. And if that is the kind of data that they have internally, and the extrapolations that they're seeing, well, that's very bad. But again, what we have at this point in the United States. Last thing to take away from this, folks, from this podcast. In the United States, right now, the R-naught is under 1. Right now. Okay? If it isn't, and if that changes, and remember, it's not a constant, it changes over time depending on conditions, environment, and everything else. If it changes, then it's time to pull a fire alarm in the U.S. But until it does, it's not. Because while you can have a pocket of infection here or there, one person gets it, 2 people get it, 3 people get it, until it starts to spread and you have an exponent greater than 1, you just don't have a pandemic, and you don't have the kind of thing that's going to cause mass hysteria and mass impact. All right, that's it. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a good day.